Now, you're ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay. Well, I'm guessing you all are at different stages of getting ready for school. And so we wanted to have this. So if you have any questions about, what's happening, what's the best way to get things started safely for your students and staff, that you would like to visit with us. The public libraries have already been through this and have done a lot of the work for you. And I don't know if all of you have got the 3-phase pandemic opening. Hi, Heather. It has a really nice template, and you can change it to what it works for you. But they look at opening it with kids in the library, with you going to the classroom, you at home, and what are the things that you can do with your kids. So I thought I'd go through that a little bit, but do we want to start with some of your questions? Hi, Teddy.
This is Gail, and let's do introductions first.
Yes.
And then when you ask a question, you can certainly ask it directly by unmuting yourself. You can type it in the chat, or if you'd like to be anonymous, you can type it in the chat and select Mary Beth or Gail or Patty, and we'll read out your question anonymously. Lots of different ways. Anyway, I'm Gail. I'm the director of CKLS, and it's nice to see your faces. We've been very worried for you, and I would like to say we've been worrying so much so you don't have to, but I know better.
Thank you, Gail.
I'm Mary Beth Schaefer, and I'm the Assistant Director and the Continuing Education Consultant for CKLS.
Patty?
Good morning. My name is Patty Collins, and I am the Youth Services Consultant here at CKLS. Glad to see all of you. Welcome back to an interesting school year.
My name is Michael, and I am the Technology Manager here at CKLS. So nice to meet you all.
Okay. Do you guys want to know the librarians? Yes. Okay. Stacy, let's start with you.
Stacy DeBay from the Wakanda District. I'm at the Lakeside Elementary School in Cocker City.
Heather, you're unmuted.
Yeah, Heather Sass. I'm the K-12 librarian at Smith Center.
Shelley?
Shelley Hensley, and I'm the K-12 librarian in Ellis.
And Debbie?
I am Debbie Brenneman. I am the pre-K through 5th in Lincoln.
Did I miss Cheris?
And you're muted.
I'm
the Otis Bison Public School Librarian.
And Sherry?
I'm Sherry Holmes. I'm the Ellenwood School Community Library Director, and I'm also CKLS school representative.
And Janet?
I'm Janet Castillo, and I am USD 240 Teskett Library, preschool through 12.
And Mindy?
Hi guys, I'm Mindy Miller, and I am the Osborne USD 392 Library Director.
And Teddy?
Yeah, I'm Teddy. I'm Pleasington's grade school librarian.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 schools. Well, we're glad you're here. How about I share my screen and let's see. Well, it's down here, I guess. Here is, do you all have a copy of this?
Not yet. We don't see it.
You don't see it?
You have to click. Oh, there we go. We've got it now.
Okay.
There we go.
And I'm going to move it over here so I'm looking at it. You can see they did it, a red zone, a yellow zone, a green zone. And hold on.
Oh. Christy, you moved it off of our screen.
I did? Okay. That's okay.
There it is.
Gotcha. Okay. There. All right. Now you can see. They had a letter, and if you needed some backup for your reasons for doing what you need to do in your library, they had some nice wording here for you to use to go to your administrators. They went red, yellow, green, and red was you're learning virtually. So here's some of the things you could do to support your students and staff. Most of these links down here, the grants are closed, but hold on. They had the Laura Bush grant available. So if there's, a need for something book-wise, or, like ebooks, or something to help your library, like internet-wise, they would have, you could use this grant for one of those things. And I'll put this also in the chat so you can see it. And those were from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. The yellow is a blend of the online and in person. And they talk about the safety and what you need to use. And what's really nice is they have all these links that take you out to either the reasoning behind it or where you can find the face shields. They have lots of nice resources here. Are any of you this far yet? Have you gotten this far in thinking about what's going to happen if you have kids in your library?
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't thought about these things, that's a good thing to start with here. How you're going to have them in the library, your check-in and check-out procedures.
The one thing that I would say, the one caveat is that when this was published, it was recommended that we quarantine items for 72 hours. That has changed now, and the recommended quarantine time is 96 hours. Even after 96 hours, they found traces of the virus still live and viable on glossy pages, which would be lots and lots of picture books as well as magazines. We will make sure and send out any updates that we learn of regarding quarantine times. And quarantine, because we know that all of you are in different sized buildings with different circumstances, and we've got public libraries that are same. We have some that are the size of a nice restroom in a school. And where do you quarantine items if that's the only space you've got? And what those librarians have been doing is all the incoming materials for that day, they've been putting in a big black trash bag and tying it off and slapping a date label on it so that they know when it went into quarantine and when it can come out. And they've been put it in the corner of their space, and it's been working. So quarantine time is not carved in stone.
It changes as we learn more about it. Do you have any questions about getting started back in your classroom, or observations you've had trying to get ready? Any problems?
How many of you?
Christy, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yay.
Let's see if I can get to the chat.
I'll just read it to you.
Okay.
What about when they are checking out books? Are they able to check out the books they touch? Only use books that, or should we only use books that are displayed?
I think that's going to be what you're most comfortable with. A lot of at the beginning, just so you can get things started. If you're in school and the kids need books, you know, I would be leery of having whole classes come in at the same time. No telling what they'll be touching, and how do you keep everybody safe that way? So I would say a few kids in at a time. They find one book, or you have a display and they can choose from there. Or, you know, some are maybe taking a box of books down to the classroom. I'm not sure how safe that is either, because those kids, even though they stay in the classroom, you know, if everybody's touching it, you're just going to spread it around.
This is Gail. One of the things that we've thought about, and there's an expense related to this, would be that when kids come in, to have them put on like food service gloves. And that way, then when they touch anything, they're at least not touching it with their bare skin. And then when they leave, they just throw those into the trash. But like I said, there's an expense related to that, because every time every child comes into the library, you need a set of gloves, and that could be outrageous in cost. Some people are having the kids, they've got a list of questions and that they ask the kids, and it's, you know, like, what are you interested in? It's reader's advisory, and then they're going and pulling 3 books for the kids, setting them on the table. The kids are then looking through them and deciding which one they want, and then the librarian puts the other 2 into quarantine. So it's really, you're going to have to figure out what your comfort level is with this, and the comfort level of your building administrator. You know, like Christy said, some people are taking a cart or a box of books down to a classroom and it's staying in the classroom. The teachers will need to know that those books will need to have that 96-hour quarantine if any of those books go home with students.
This is Sherry Holmes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we're doing. We've scheduled the different classrooms for different times that they can come down to check out, and that's the only time that they're going to get to come down to check out during the week. And then also we're having a thing where they can touch 3, but one of those 3 is what they have to take, and the rest go on to a bin that's going to be quarantined later. So it's a touch 3, take 1, especially if it's chapter books. And then a lot of times, I know a lot of you know, kids have a problem choosing books, and so sometimes we have to take the initiative and say, okay, then I'm going to choose one for you. And that's worked out okay too.
Sherry, you're the public library as well, so this has been for this summer. So you haven't had classes in.
Correct.
It's just a small group of kids come in looking for a book.
Correct.
Okay.
So you've been doing this in practice. Janet Castillo in chat says she's going to have to take a book cart and go to the room. The preschool and kindergarten will have just a few books to choose from. The other classes will go online and pick out which books they want, and I will take them to their classroom during the library time. That
we'd like to hear from you when you guys figure out what you're doing, how it's working.
Yep.
You'll have to sanitize that cart every time you go down, I guess, or when you pick them up. Yeah.
Yep.
I have a
The
question.
kids also have to use hand sanitizer every time before they come into the room.
That's a good thing. And I think if you look at the plan here, the 3-phase plan, they get in pretty good detail of the kids are going to walk in, they're going to put sanitizer on, then they're going to look for their book. Have any of you gotten a plastic shield for the front of your desk?
No, I did have a question for you guys though. At our high school, I'm not in the library all the time because I'm also in the classroom some, and sometimes I'm at the elementary. So we have set up self-checkout. What is any advice for that where there's not someone in there? Should we just get rid of that and go to have students reserve them online in Destiny and then deliver them to the kids? Like you were saying, gloves maybe, if they do their own self-checkout. I just want to know your guys' advice on that.
So, Charis, do they have library card? How does the checkout process work? Do they have library cards, or they just enter their name or their student number?
Enter their name on Destiny. We just have it limited.
So they have to type it in?
Yeah, there's only one one computer, so they do have to type in their name on that.
And then is there a scanner on a stand?
Yes.
So what you may want to do is go into your checkout system and see if you can actually generate library cards for the students, print those out probably by teacher or by grade if they're in the high schools, and then the kids will learn how to, that way they don't have to type it in. They can scan that card number and they know it's theirs, and then they can check out that way, and that way they're not typing. It would be easy enough, I think, to put press and seal on the handle of a scanner to keep it kind of safe, and then to change it out regularly through the day maybe, or to have a glove there for them. And then you'll just have to, really, because you're not there, you're going to have to really make them understand why they can't touch everything.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Janet has 2 shields up. Debbie Brenneman's custodian is building a shield for her. Mindy Miller says she'll be utilizing book bags for grade school students on a rotating basis. She says, I will give students a bag of books once per week. They will return books in the same bag, and I'll begin the quarantine process. This will require 2 bags per student to keep the process moving smoothly. High school and junior high students will be able to place books on hold that I'll pull and deliver individually. And that's something that a lot of public libraries have been doing, are book bundles or the bags of rotating books. Someone can call in to a public library and indicate an interest. I've got a 4-year-old boy who likes dinosaurs, and then the public library will gather up a bunch of books and check them out. And it's what we're calling curbside delivery. Then they put them in a bag and take them out on the curb. And Mindy it's doing a model of that, but she's doing the delivering. Great idea, Mindy. L. Armstrong, and I'm not sure if you'll unmute yourself and say what your name is and which library you're from, says our district has ordered or is making shields, but we don't have them up yet. So who is L. Armstrong?
This is Lynette Armstrong, and I'm from Hayes.
Hello.
Hi.
If you're not going to be getting a shield, some public libraries have made some pretty darn good ones with clear shower curtains. And that'll always give you an option. It's a cheaper option as well.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I do. This is Heather. Are any of you teaching classes in your library? Starting off, we have no cases here. We haven't had any cases since April. And so I'm not putting our community down in any sense of the word, but from what I'm seeing in other communities, we have a pretty lax things.
Yes, that's what we hear as well.
So I do have concerns about, I mean, because my schedule and what I've been told is my schedule is every 25 minutes, kids are coming in the library.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the same way. I'll be having classes as well.
Okay. So I won't be alone in this. That's good to know.
Well, and what you'll both really need to do is take a document like this to your administrators, because they don't know that books need to be quarantined, and they don't know the different things that you'll need to do in between classes. Having the document may not change their mind, but at least you know you've done what you can to help keep those children safe. Christie sent a letter to all of the administrators earlier, and I think she shared that with the school group as well. And it was just, you know, your librarians know things that you don't know, and they're going to be your best resource for opening the library. And so you're really going to have to step up and be a leader in your school, even if, you know, your job description and pay grade doesn't warrant that. You do know information that they don't, and you're going to need to step up and be part of that decision-making team if you're allowed to be, because you've got knowledge that they need to know.
Are they wearing masks or any protocols, Heather? And
as of right now, we're following the governor's executive order to wear masks.
Good.
Nobody's pushed it yet. I mean, I really think if our community, if it comes to it, if another school district says we're not going to wear masks, I think say we're not going to wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
Our medical, you don't have to wear a mask to go into the hospital. They're not taking temperatures.
Yeah.
This is Sherry at Ellenwood, and we are going to have to start taking temperatures because we are a school building. My superintendent went to the KASB lawyers, and we are going to have to take temperatures as people walk into the building just a moment. At the high school.
And I think we are too. I mean, I think that we will as they come into the building, but as for masks, I don't know. Right now we are, which is good, but I don't know if it'll last.
And Debbie Brenneman says that masks are optional but recommended here. It was decided yesterday. Janet says our district is ordering 2 masks for each students, for all students and staff.
So I'm assuming then, Janet, that those are cloth reusable masks then.
Probably.
And we do know that we've seen it in small communities, even up in northwest of our system, where they didn't have anything and then they had a big outbreak. And so I'm happy to see that you are all, you know, looking at the ways to keep your numbers low, because that's the whole goal, is to try to keep this as low as we can. Mm-hmm. And so I'm happy to see that you're making those plans and you're making those adjustments as needed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Are your districts providing you with any of the equipment and hand sanitizer and all that? Is anybody going to help you clean in between while you're doing books and all that, or are you on your own?
I see a lot of grimacing faces there. And do they even know that the library should be cleaned regularly? The touch points should be cleaned a couple of times a day, and that you're going to need to wipe things down between the students because they'll be moving.
This is Sherry.
This is Patty, especially those that are doing more than one building. like in Cheris's situation, she's not even there.
And Sherry, you had a comment?
We have to get rid of everything that has cloth out of our rooms and out of our buildings. And then we like tables, the tables in the library are going to be now display tables. They won't be tables that we can sit at the grade school for sure. At the high school, we're okay there because we have staff who's continually wiping down and everything. So our grade school, when the kids come in, we'll have dots on the floor, number dots. Where they will sit, and they'll be 6 feet apart. So we're looking at those things as well.
In the chat, Jenna says in the beginning, they're not even going to let grade school students in the library. And Patty asks, what digital options are available in your schools? Do any of you have digital resources beyond what's provided through the state and through CKLS? No.
Have you gotten your staff and students Kansas library cards? If you haven't yet and need some help, I'd be happy to help with that.
We have a Google form that we had for online self-registration. It asks for the things that we need to set up the Kansas library card. And then we also added zip code to verify they're a Kansas resident. And then we can set up the Kansas library cards for them. I think that's something we could make to the schools' libraries as well, and then help you get those set up.
Right, and with the Kansas library card, you have access to a lot of digital resources. BookFlix is entirely nonfiction. For the upper grades, you've got a ton of things available. And the waiting list can be long on certain things. On BookFlix, it's not. And then if you encourage your students to go to their local library and get a library card, then they have access to 2 more additional digital resources. One is Sunflowery Library, which is Overdrive, and the other is Hoopla, which is a downloadable streaming service, and that has books, music, movies, comic books, and graphic novels, and audiobooks as well. And so there are a lot of digital resources for big and littles. It just depends on what's available. Chera says she's heard information about Sora. Is this anything to consider? And Christie, isn't Sora the school version of Overdrive?
Yes.
Right. Right.
And I think if your school already has Overdrive, then it's easy to use.
Now, if you go to your public library and get your library card so that they can use Overdrive, the app is called Libby. It's not the same thing as Sora, but there is a way to show the parents or the students how to lock that in so it only goes to the child-safe version of Overdrive. It's my understanding that Sora, the school needs to buy into the platform and then purchase content as well, which can be expensive. So we always say that, your workaround, the best way to do that is to really encourage everyone to go get local library cards. Is your school allowing visitors into the building? That's an important thing for us to know, because we could come and do training for your in-service, but we need to know if we're going to be allowed in the building for that. And we would be talking to teachers about all the different resources that are available. If that's something that you're not comfortable doing, we can also do that online. Christie also has the CKLS School Library LibGuides that is loaded with ebook and audiobook resources.
A lot of them are for younger, but there's a few that have books for the
Yes.
older students.
And I'll put a link to where Christie's at in the chat too.
Yeah.
The other thing that you were asking about books about COVID, and we have a LibGuide that the first is resources about COVID. Then there's also books and reading. And there's several books here that you can get online or that can be downloaded as a PDF that you can use.
Good resource, Christy.
And if any of you are like they've talked about, teachers talked about online reading, we've got a lot of the publishers, you know, have adapted it, and they've said a lot of them have changed it to September. It was June earlier. So we have to be careful about copyright, but I'll try to keep this updated so you know what is usable.
Right, you'll have to be the copyright warriors through this, because a lot of people and even teachers don't understand that it violates copyright for them to read aloud a book and stream it or show it online. And you're going to be the ones that are going to be the people that know about that. And so be sure and let them know. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of places for books that are read aloud to students online. Christy's got a bunch listed here, and we've got another resource that we'll make sure to add to that. Christy didn't show everything there. She was just showing a sample.
I've also got educator resources, things that you can do if you're at home. Well, you can do it either way, but it's a lot of good resources of things that you may be able to teach with. And there's family resources, things they can do with their kids. And the other is professional development. That was kind of good when we were at home, but if you're looking for something, let me know and I'll try to find if there's a resource for it.
Right, right.
I have a question about the read alouds. If I video it here and just put it on a private Google link and don't put it on YouTube or whatever, is that copyright okay as long as it's private? No.
No, generally speaking, no. You need to first find out if the publisher has granted permission to do that, and that permission is still valid. Some have started extending to December because school kids elsewhere aren't starting school in person. And that then gives you permission, but that permission is very limited. We recommend that because copyright is a real tangle. What we're recommending is that you look through these resources and link out to that instead. YouTube has lots and lots of things on it that are not going to violate copyright because they're from the publishers promoting books for kids. Yes, Chera says our elementary teachers also use Epic as a free resource, and Books is free for teachers. One of the great things about Epic this year is that they don't just have to use it while they're in the school building. It's something that they can take and use at home as well. Epic has extended that permission, which is just awesome.
This is Patty Collins, and I've been spending a lot of time with this whole copyright question. So you can video a story, but you still need to use either the publisher's permissions or get permissions, and then follow their situation to the letter of the law. You know, it might say, you know, used by permission, such and such. Agree to their pick up and take down situation. But more than anything, what I think we're running into is the permissions are changing almost by the day. So what might be available today isn't available tomorrow is some of the situation. There's been a lot of talk about, can I just do that in that private room? And the jury's still out on that one, because some people say, yeah, it's fair use, do what you want. And then there's also the issue is schools have a few more gimmies than a public library does, but there still are those restrictions. A copyright guru that I was speaking with earlier this week thinks that those permissions will be continued to be extended for schools only, but that the public libraries will be out of the picture. So it's all a very, very fluid thing right now. But if you need continued resources, I'm still trying and keep watching the CKLS members group, and hopefully we can give you more information as it comes on.
Yeah, it's because it is so complicated. Right now, we're just recommending to use the resources that are available there, because it's a full-time job keeping up with this. And then if you do decide to do some things, like lots of libraries have, you have to know when to take it down as well. Yeah, it's just crazy.
I came across this from the CDC, and it's something you send home to the parents and get them thinking about what needs to happen before their kids go back to school. And it's a very comprehensive. It's 4 pages, but it's pretty good. And they're encouraging them to plan ahead for what could happen. And I just thought that one was a really good one.
What I really liked about that was they're encouraging parents to establish a new before school and after school plan, which I really liked. And here Christie's showing it right now, to talk about their mental and social health for parents.
And then they show you how to wear it correctly, wear the mask correctly. So hopefully you'll get some cool kid that loves wearing his mask, and so everybody will have to follow his lead.
Or movie stars or rock stars or sports stars or something. We need something out there, don't we?
Yeah.
We do. What are you worried about the most? This is a safe place to share that. Christie, if you're done sharing, then we can see everybody's faces.
Okay,
again.
sure. I was going to just say these links are very good to have, and this guidance is really detailed. This guide was from the Department of Education in Pennsylvania, and they did a really nice job of preparing their staff. So yes, I'll quit sharing.
Now I see faces. There we go. So what are you most worried about?
There is a comment in the chat. I gave all students a code for open ebooks last year, since we are a title school. They have a good selection. Unfortunately, they do not have an app that works on Chromebooks yet that I know of.
I think, honestly, one of the biggest concerns that I have is exposure. Because as of right now, what we've got set up is every 2 days, I will have met with 220 kids.
Yeah. And
Heather, what do you have planned for teaching? I mean,
at the beginning, for the littles, it'll just be exposure. I mean, to different, here are the Pete the Cat books, here are the Barbie books, here are, but 3rd through 6th, I'm gonna start right away with digital They know how to use our Destiny. Oh, we use Destiny, and so they know how to use it, but we haven't really had to reinforce that because I know where all the books are. So all they have to do, and my assistant is the same way. And so just making sure that I'm following those things, you know, and making sure that they're requesting those books through Destiny. And we're just going to use that a lot. And I'm going to start doing more. Our 5th and 6th grade don't use, I mean, they use Google a lot, and their classrooms will use Google a lot, but just connecting, you know, setting up a library folder for them, a library class for them. So that, because I think the biggest thing for me, another worry is if we go into shutdown, I've got to be able to show my worth.
Your value.
I agree. Did you do anything? Were you able to do anything last spring? I didn't get to do a lot with the kids.
I did not do a lot with the kids, mainly because I love my teaching staff. But we have not been pushed into using digital a lot. We are not a one-to-one school. There's a few of us that are probably a little bit more digitally advanced than others. And so I didn't want to, I did not want to overwhelm them with stuff that I had. And a problem, one thing that is going to be a positive this year is the building won't be shut down. So I live out on a farm, and by the time my junior high kid, my high school kid, my husband who teaches, and our internet bandwidth is very low. And so now I can go into the school and I can use that bandwidth and upload and thing. And so that will be a very, very much a positive. But I do know, in just talking with some of my teachers over the summer, they're feeling more confident. And so now they're ready. I was able to ask those questions. Okay, I think I've got some more videos. I think I can do this. Let me know when I can put them on. And so I maybe did 3, maybe 4 per class. But it was more of I did it in pods. You know, I did something for 3rd and 4th grades and they put it on Seesaw, and I did something for 5th and 6th grades. And so I just kind of gave them a taste. I think there's going to be more expectations from them for me. I hope there are, because they're going to be a big advocate for my program.
Right, and that is one of the best things to come out for this, is if you're like Heather and you're being a little proactive and finding those resources that you know those teachers are really going to appreciate, you're showing your value. And you'll be able to show that value even when, or if, you know, schools have to close and the kids stay home, you'll be able to show that. My son's fiance is a school elementary librarian in Dodge City, and she's young, and she's very tech savvy, but the school didn't know what to do with her. And so they had her contacting every student once a week. She was the human communication with them. She ran bundles of books to families. She ran things that the kids had left in school. She has a very different plan for the fall in case they close down, because she knows that schools and students especially need library services even if they're not in the building. And that's one of the things that Christie can really work with you to help. Patty, if you don't follow the CKLS Youth Services Facebook page, I would recommend it, because starting soon through the fall, every week, they're going to push out a bunch of story time and family literacy activities. Those are things that you could share with your teachers and families as well now as part of your library work. I don't know if you all have a web presence that's dedicated just to the library. If you don't, that would be, or even just one page, a great place to post links to all of these activities and things that people have access to. Because watching someone read a story is a lot different online than it is trying to read a book digitally online when you're young. It's a very different interactive process. And especially if the parents can put it up on the TV, We see pictures now of preschoolers singing and dancing along to the TV because they know the story lady, you know, and those are things that you'll be able to do.
We do have a couple comments in the chat. Holly says that I'm making bookmarks for my students on how to access the Destiny database online. So it's something hopefully they can take with them no matter where they are. And Cherise says, our district is considering moving to a 4-day week schedule. We are waiting on our parent survey and we'll make a decision for sure this week. If it passes, we will likely have Mondays off for cleaning and sanitizing. No students will be in the building on that day.
Yes.
And then Stacy asks, please tell me what programs are available with the Kansas Library Card and what are available with the local city card. So,
okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
So with the Kansas State Library Card, you can get, I put a link in the chat to the digital page. You can get access to RB Digital, which is audiobooks, and it's not limited to just children's books. There's Cloud Library for ebooks, but there's also Bookflix. Let me pull up the page.
Bookflix is nonfiction for kids.
Nonfiction for kids, so that's kids specific.
There are encyclopedias for all levels, all sorts of research sources for your older students, especially consumer reports, auto repair manuals, all sorts of health databases. It really runs the gamut.
And there's Tumble Books, which are available until August 31st for free. So they're on that website again, which I'll just put in the chat again here. The local library card is going to get you to Overdrive, which is our Sunflower Library Overdrive. And you can set that up to have, so when they open the app, it goes to kids specific side of Overdrive. And then there's also Hoopla, and there's a kid specific side of Hoopla as well. Hoopla is limited to, I believe, 4 checkouts per month for a patron because it's a cost per checkout. So that's how we can budget for it.
Right. And Hoopla is streaming download. There's never any waiting. Hoopla is running, they've been running for a long time, book clubs for adults, but I would think that if enough people pressure them, they would start running things like that for kids as well. But because it's simultaneous checkouts and no waiting, you can have a whole classroom reading the same book at the same time. And then they often will have the book in an ebook version, an audio book, just lots of different versions. And if there's a movie available with it, they could watch the movie too.
You're welcome,
You're
Stacey.
welcome, Stacy. Yeah, these are things that are available to you at no cost. You've got to do a little legwork, but it's well worth doing.
Speaking
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Speaking of Hoopla, you know, before I could set up Libby for kids, especially if they have IEP issues, I could set that up, get them a state library card, do that. With Hoopla, does that have to go through our public library?
Yes.
And okay. So that's a different, I'll have to work with Joanna about that.
Hoopla is not available to school libraries. It's only available to public libraries. And so that's why you've got to go through your public library to get that. But our patrons have been loving it. We saw a huge increase, of course, starting the middle of March, and that has not stopped. And what I suspect is that our public library patrons will continue to use digital resources as well as print resources. That's just what the nation trending is.
And I wanted to clarify on the Hoopla videos, a student could watch the video, but of course you couldn't do a group watch party of the video.
Right, you can't watch it as a class because you don't have viewing rights.
Yeah. My son has the Hoopla app, and he runs out of checkouts every month.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing, and he's 15. He loves it.
It's $4 per month because it is a cost per use. If I had all the money in the world, we would all have all the checkouts in the world. This year, the executive board, the CKLS executive board, did approve me to throw 20,000 more into that. And so you're going to really, if you get your students signed up for Hoopla, and if they're running into the patron blocks and not able to get those things checked out, I need you to communicate with Christie about that, because there could be the opportunity for us to throw more money at it as well. The smaller your town, the fewer people we expect would be using it, but things may change because of this. It's an amazing service.
I just want to clarify that with Hoopla, we can't show it like on a projector when we have a class in there, but I could have everyone in their class logged in to the same story.
Yes.
Okay. So if they brought their own little laptops, they could all be listening to that while I check a few people out at a time.
Right. Right.
Because each checkout of that one story is paying for the permission for that viewing. Or
right.
That audio listening.
Oh, I get you.
Do we have anything else? Here, Holly says, is there a way to mass sign up a school for state library cards? Okay.
I think that's something we can help with.
Yeah, Holly, yeah. I can help you with that. And
I think that, sorry, Christie, I think that if you visit with your administrators about what's going to be available, they're going to share some of this personal information. It's the student's name and age and
birthday.
We collect as little as possible to make it happen. But if you could send us a spreadsheet, we could get them signed up for the state card. What we can't do is get them signed up for the local library card, and that's where Hoopla and Sunflower eLibrary are. And the parents need to give permission for these cards. Is that how it works in the schools regularly for the Kansas State Library card? So the answer would be yes, then on those. And Hoopla does have a limited number of checkouts per month per user.
I think if you also go to your public librarian and talk about, I want to get everybody a card this year that's in school, that can be overwhelming. But again, I could help with that as well. Mm-hmm. I could work with a public librarian and, maybe we could, if we're allowed in the building, come in at lunch a couple of days a week and you can sign them up, get the information, give them the cards. So,
right. One of the things that is available to you, but you'll have to click out to the internet to do it, is the CKLS catalog is called Pathfinder. It's our version of Destiny or Atrium or whatever it is you're using. And within that catalog, there's a lot of reader's advisory tools. So if you're like Mindy, where you're going to be making book bundles and you're running out of ideas or you're getting stumped, the reader's advisory tools help you with things like more books in a series, or if you like this author, then you might also like this author. Or if I like this book because it's funny, here's a list of other books that are funny. And so all you have to do is click on the catalog link, and then you'll have those tools and resources available to you as well. And that's one of the things that it's well worth having that bookmarked for yourself as well. If you have high school students, you could also have them bookmark it and learn how to use that. What may happen is they're wanting books that are in a series, but they can't get, and that's then where you would use interlibrary loan, or you would encourage them to go to the local library and interlibrary loan those things. I think that our students in this day and age are really going to need to know how to use those hidden services, the things that we can do for them and you can do for them, but they don't see when they walk into your library. I think that as it gets closer and after you get back in the building, you're going to have a lot of questions, and we're here to answer those questions. Christie's just scheduled a few of these days, but on our secret calendars, we have a lot more days saved because we anticipate that's what you're going to need. With the public libraries, we met weekly for months, and that was very beneficial. We found that because it was just all so stressful and so unknown, even back in May, we know more now, that they just really needed the emotional touch support that we could give them through this face-to-face. And that is something that we'll be glad to do for you as well. We talked a lot about self-care and what that looks like for a librarian. You're going to need to let us know what you need from us, because then we'll be able to give it to you. But we don't have bubbles for you. I'm sorry.
Once school gets started, I'd be happy to have another one of these. Maybe I could send out a poll again, because I know you'll be in school, or are you having sports? I think a lot of them are going to go ahead and have them. So we could do an evening one if you're practicing or something.
Yep.
So we're happy to do that. I have a little commercial. We're going to have a Facebook training on August 19th in the morning. And if you can't attend, Mary Beth records them. And it's just to get you more savvy, some more things that can happen since we're going to be using Facebook a lot. Or maybe you can, if you don't have one yet, we'll help you get one set up, and you can share that with your teachers and your parents. Be posting some of those things that you've got going on.
Yep. Heather asks if we've heard if the William Allen White celebration will be happening this fall.
It's going to happen, but it's going to be virtual. And I think it was October 5th. Let me see if I can find. And that both of maybe it's the 3rd, must be October 3rd. Both of the winners we'll work with them to do it. They don't know exactly how it's going to look like yet, but they're planning on having it. And that might be really cool for some of us out here that it's hard to get down there to celebrate. So maybe.
I hope that this would to expand into later
Yes.
years for those of us.
Yeah. I've always tried to get them to film it, and we could get on live and watch it, but they haven't really wanted to do that anytime I bring it up. So we'll see what happens this year. They'll see it can work. We know it can, don't we?
Can you confirm that date again for the William Allen White? October 3rd?
October 3rd.
And Christie will send out information to your school library's Google group as well. It's your last chance for any questions for us. We've heard from Heather, but we haven't heard much from anybody else. We've got a lot of introverts. I got a lot of introverts here. No, Heather, you've asked questions that everybody wants to know the answers to.
Going back to, this is Lynette in Hayes, going back to having public library cards for all our students, something that our Hayes Public Library did for us, I think this is our 2nd or 3rd year, they created accounts that we use at school because our students have one-to-one devices, and those account numbers are just for that device. So we recycle those numbers each year. And they've come in each year and actually set up Libby and Hoopla for us on the devices so the students don't have to do that. So yeah, that's been really awesome. So that, with younger kids, trying to get them to type in that long 15 or whatever digit number it is, they go in and set it up and make sure it's set in kids mode for us and everything. So that's been really helpful.
That's awesome.
It's kind of a hiccup with not having people in our buildings, but we're going to see if we can get them in before school starts. New devices though, when they're not in. So our backup plan is we have a bookmobile that can't come in. We're going to take iPads out to their bookmobile so they can still set everything up for us. So it's worked out well to have, it's not an account tied to a specific person. It's just an account tied to an iPad, and then we can recycle numbers every year. And that's worked out really well for us.
That's very clever. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you all for being with us today. If questions pop into your mind, you can ask them on the Google group or email Christie or give her a call, or you can jot them down and ask next time when we meet if you're able to join us.
And we are going to meet again next Tuesday at 10. So it's going to be a lot of the same stuff probably with a different group, but if you got questions, pop in and say hey and tell us what's going on.
And honestly, we're going to share some of the things that you all shared today because you've got some great ideas. I think that CKLS is great and we are able to provide a lot of support, but sometimes your best answers come from people who are just like you in the trenches and working. And you're doing a good job now because you're thinking about your safety, the safety of your collection, but also your students. And it's going to be a tough year, but you are all very tough women and you have this in you to make this a successful school year for the library and the students. You're welcome for everything, everybody. Yeah. Thank you for setting this up, Christie. I'm going to pop out now.
Okay.